Hello everyone. Now in this lesson we will learn about the most important concept of C++, that is classes. We have opened up our Dave C++ and now what I'm going to do is demonstrate how to use classes. Okay, so what are classes? Did you know that C++ initially was called C with classes? Later its name changed to C++, but it was initially called C with classes. That is, it was basically the C programming language with the addition of classes concept. Now what is this classes concept? Classes are a group of similar objects just like structures, but they have their own functions. That means that if you have observed our structure lesson, you would have seen that there were no functions inside the structures. There were only variables. Now classes can also include their own functions. There are also some other differences that separates classes from structures. We'll learn about that in later lecture. Now let's create a class so you'll understand it better. Now class is created using the class keyword followed by the class name. This time let it be account. Let account be the class name. Alright. Now you need to realize that class ends with semicolon. It is very important. Just like structures, you have to end your class block with a semicolon. Alright. Now like structures, you can also create variables inside a class, but you cannot initialize those variables outside the class. What I meant by that is that suppose it's a bank account and you have an account number of integer type. You cannot give value to this account outside this block. You cannot do that. That is because the class, this variable account is a private variable. We'll learn about private and public in our next lesson. At the moment you need to know that you cannot give value to any of the class variables outside the class. Okay, now we'll create one more variable of float type to show the account balance. Alright, now here comes the fun part. Now we need to create a function. Yes, we will create a function inside the class. Now if we create a function just like we created our variables, that function also will not be able to use outside the class. So what can we do to make the function available outside the class? For that we use the public followed by the colon. Now this public is an accessing type. We'll learn about this in our next lesson. For the moment just follow me. You will understand by the end of the next lesson. Alright, now we can create a function just like we create normally. The data type for the function we are using here is void and the name is update. Now what this function does is that it updates the balance according to the amount entered by the user. Now update, inside we'll have our parameter which would be a float, amount. Now what this function will do is that it will update our balance. So balance would be balance plus amount that we entered. And it will also print current balance is now the current balance is followed by the balance variable. By now I believe you all have started writing your own functions because we learned about function in our previous section and by now you are clear how to use them. Now you know that the function also needs a function call. Now for the function call, let us create our variable int amount and we will receive the value of amount from the user. You may be thinking that we could do this the normal way by using update and just doing this, but we can't just use the function directly. To use a class function, you need one more thing, that is the class object. So without having an object, you cannot use the class function. So to create a class object, just like you create a structure object, you use the class name followed by the object name. For easy understanding, let the object name be ob1. Now to use the function, all we have to do is ob1 dot operator, the function name followed by the parameter that we are passing into the function, and that is amount. Alright, semicolon. Okay, so now let's compile and check this if the code is working properly. Yes, now we'll enter our initial amount and you can see that the current balance is 5,000. The code is working perfectly. Now let's do a slight recap. Classes are just like structures, but they also have their own functions. We cannot give value directly to our class variables outside the class. It has to be done inside the class. And class variables are accessed through functions and they have to be made public. Now we'll learn about public and private in our next lecture, and we will learn how to make variables so that they can be given value outside the class. We'll learn all that in the next lesson. For now, you need to know that the functions need to be made public so that it can be used outside the class. And to use the function, we need to create an object of that class. We can do that by using the class name followed by the object name. And to use the function, we have to use the object name followed by the dot operator and the function name and the parameter to be passed. Now that is all about classes. Now in our next lesson we will learn about public and private. So see you there. Thank you.